bonus. And now Thompson lets it fly. Thompson, that quick release, no good. There's Lyle. Klay Thompson. Warriors trying to get Thompson going here. He's over.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but Klay Thompson may have played his last game wearing the Warriors jersey. This future Hall of Famer, the guy who once scored 60 points in 11 dribbles and dropped 37 and a quarter, just flamed out in the worst way possible. 0 for 10 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3 in 32 minutes of play. I've been saying all season long that the Golden State Warriors had a shot of winning it all. If, and only if, the other guys do their part in helping out Mr. Number 30 with his scoring chores. But in the most important game of the season, Klay was busy piling up enough bricks to build a mansion. And on the other hand, Andrew Wiggins played like his basketball skills were taken away by the Monstars in Space Jam. Now before I talk about the other guys, let's get back on Klay Thompson. I mean, even though Steph and Draymond already said numerous times that they don't want to see Klay walk away, that decision is ultimately out of their hands now. Last summer, the Dubs offered him a 2-year, $48 million extension. He turned that down and bet on himself, believing that he's way more valuable than the price tag that the Warriors put on him. But as we all know, this season hasn't been kind to Klay, and although he's shown a bit of a resurgence in the last 3 months, at the end of the day, he'll still be judged with the way he wrapped up the final game of the season.
I mean, how confident are you that you'll be?
To be honest, I really haven't given it much thought because what I previously just said about the season we had and how much commitment it takes to play the games we did and give it our all. So,
while several reports already speculating that this might just be the end of the road for him in Bay Area, the silver lining is that there's still a big market out there for spot-up shooters, and also according to recent reports, teams like Magic are on the lookout for Klay and eyeing to pick him up once the free agency season hits. The Athletic call this as one of the worst-kept secrets in the NBA, meaning that people around the association knew beforehand that this was bound to happen. And on paper, it actually makes sense for both parties involved. I mean, although the Magic is one of the youngest and dynamic teams in the NBA right now, they are currently ranked as the 22nd defensive team in the league, and 25th overall in terms of three-point shooting. So you see, the math does add up here. See, despite struggling most part of the season, the soon-to-be 35-year-old Klay still managed to put up decent numbers on the scoring end. 18 points a ball game, 43.2% from the field, and almost 39% from deep. His outside sniping can definitely complement the Magic's offense, which mainly revolves around Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. And say whatever you want to say about Klay, but the man can light up the scoreboard when he's in the zone. A prime example of this was when he shot the lights out recently against the Jazz, scoring 13 points in the first quarter, and the time he scored 21 points in the first half against the Rockets. And apart from this, the Magic direly needs a vet in their locker room, and Klay's influence, as well as his leadership, will definitely help out the Magic's current young guns in a big way as they navigate into a new era. The Rockets have done the same thing when they acquired Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks this offseason to complement their young stars like Jabari Smith Jr., Ausar Thompson, Alperen Sengun, and Jalen Green. So you see, even if we see him playing in reduced minutes, Klay still has more to offer than his ability to put up buckets. And one more thing. The clincher in this potential deal is that the Magic has the money to make this happen. I mean, as of this recording, the Magic has $45 million in cap space, which they could use to lure in Klay. Meanwhile, the Warriors are barely keeping their heads above water in terms of their luxury tax situation. That has been biting them in the rear end for years now. And as per Dubs' owner Joe Lacob recent comments, he plans to veer away from the luxury tax entirely. And this means that the someone from the roster, who has a big name with an equally hefty price attached along with it, clearly has to go no matter what. As of today, the Warriors have roughly $137 million committed to 8 players, and this doesn't include Klay. And Looney and CP3 still has a $30 million salary slated for next season, but isn't guaranteed. The tax line for next season is projected to hit around $172 million, and if they want to stay under the tax entirely, as Lacob said, they would have $35 million of financial elbow room to potentially retain Looney, CP3, and Klay. With the numbers that I just laid out, it all boils down to loyalty versus money for Klay. I mean, financially speaking, Klay has to take a significant pay cut if he still wants to wear a Warriors jersey next season. So based on the Dubs' initial offer of $24 million a year, which he rejected, Klay could probably work around with half of that, like $12 to $13 million, just so he can still play alongside Steph and Draymond for an extended period at a smaller role. Now, if Klay doesn't want to take a pay cut, Lacob can simply write a check and put any amount that Klay wishes in the dotted line, if he wants to reward him for all the championships that he's brought to his team. But then again, other teams, as I mentioned earlier, such as the Magic, have more financial leeway than the Dubs, and this means that they can offer more money to the table. So if you're in Klay's shoes, are you willing to play for a winning team while taking less money? Or are you willing to leave it all behind and start anew for a larger payday? There's no doubt that Klay has a lot of pondering to do in the next few weeks, but see, if there's one thing that doesn't require much thinking on the Dubs' part right now, then it has to be getting rid of CP3's contract. Obviously, we can now fully say that the CP3 experiment has failed big time, and with this being said, they could do two things here. Either they just cut him off so that he could become an unrestricted free agent, which allows him to sign to whichever team that he wants, or they could pick up his contract and eventually flip him for young assets or package him in a blockbuster trade by mid-season next year. Without question, the Dubs' old core of Steph, Draymond, and Klay has already reached its limits, and it's now time to shake things up by adding new faces and possibly replacing old ones in order for them to get back on the winning track in no time. Anyway, on top of the Chris Paul contract situation, both Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody are due for contract extensions this summer, and then they also have to figure out what to do with the declining Andrew Wiggins. Like, at this very moment, they have to decide on which ones they will keep and which ones they're willing to let go because the limited financial resources to work on. Something has to give at the end of the day. I bet that the Warriors are going to have a busy summer ahead of them as they make these tough decisions, which could have major implications surrounding the future in the league. If you're Mike Dunleavy, what is the first move that you're going to take this offseason? Are you going to re-sign Klay for less money? And if you're going to trade CP3, who do you think are the right pieces to exchange him with? Be sure to let me know your answers to this by putting your comments below. And until then, see you in the next video.